So, it is Friday, the 9th of September. And in 2 days, we will memorialize one of the greatest tragedies in American history. And henceforward, that memorial will be overshadowed in some parts of the world by the passing of Queen Elizabeth. And I would actually be very interested to hear what Alex has to say on the subject, which I imagine he talked about on the show last night, but I don't know because I didn't make it to TPS report yet.
He did talk about it on the show last night. He didn't talk about that specifically, but yeah, he mentioned the Queen once or twice.
Wow, that's ominously phrased. I'll have to go check that out. Anyway, so the Queen is dead. Long live the King. Now, let's be fair. She had a good run.
She had one of the best runs ever.
Yeah, she had
just
one
by
of
the numbers.
she had one of the best runs of any human being that has ever lived.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. So, okay,
And I'm not making a political commentary here. I mean, we're talking about somebody who lived almost an entire century in the lap of absolute wealth and power, and has been at a level of power to be not just witness to, but actively and personally involved in the shaping of the last century of world history. The significance of the English Queen just cannot well be overstated. It's, no matter what a political position you might have, yeah, that's a hell of a run.
So for perspective, Chris and I were discussing this before the show. My father was born, lived his entire life, and died
Having retired from a full career.
Yeah. All during her reign. Not during her life. Her reign. My dad was born in 1957. She was coronated in 1952. Okay?
At 27. Imagine you basically just got out of college and well, here's a planet. Don't drop it.
So there's that, okay? Just the sheer, it's impressive just on its face, no matter how you feel about the politics of it. And we're gonna roll part of the political discussion into Meme War Monday, because there are memes, but today is not the day. I thought a lot about this. How do I phrase this exactly? Because there are a lot of people who are not even British subjects. You can go ahead and roll it over. Show the pictures. That's a good idea.
And I'm just going to let the pictures kind of scroll.
So there's a lot of people that are very sad about this, even people who are not British subjects. And here's why. Okay, let me give voice to that for you. Queen Elizabeth is, you stop the scrolling. Queen Elizabeth is, or was, a rare bird. To say they don't make them like her anymore is an understatement. They barely made them like they made her when she was made. It is so rare that a monarch passes on a crown that is stronger to their progeny. Typically, monarchs are spoiled, narcissistic, petulant. They lack empathy because, they've simply been handed everything and quite literally told because of the way they were born, they are special. And Queen Elizabeth seems to have understood that there is a lot of overlap in the Venn diagram from rights, responsibilities, and privileges, that they all occupy a very similar space, if you want to be very honest. We're talking about a woman who was a combat nurse in World War II, just for starters. okay, and a woman who apparently was a very personable type of person, very warm and cheery in private, but she maintained the stoicism in public because she understood that she had responsibilities. There's this whole thing about how one of the advantages to the British system of having all the pomp and pageantry be bestowed on the monarchy, you've got a sense of continuity that's easy to understand, even if you don't necessarily think that the concept of a king or queen is a positive thing. There are positive things about it. And I say all that to say the power could go to anybody's head. You could act like such a jerk. But history is replete with tyrants. You go all the way back to the Caesars and just some of the awful stuff that they would do. And what happened while Queen Elizabeth was queen? Well, there's a lot of people, and like I said, we'll get to it on Me More Monday. There are a lot of people that are going to want to say some very, very nasty things about her, about Britain, about this, about that. But peacefully, the Queen backed England, Britain, out of a lot of things. Was in fact a peaceful ruler that understood. I mean, we're talking about somebody who was a combat nurse. She quite literally had seen the horrors of war. So it's not like she was afraid of a thing she didn't understand.
Right.
She had enough sense to be forward thinking and do the right thing and actually take her privilege and power and try and do something positive with it. So if you're not a British subject and even you yourself are sad, simply put, there was a level of being humble and authenticity to Queen Elizabeth that the vast majority of us couldn't even begin to wrap our heads around. You give me that much power, I'm dead at 50 with basically every STD on the planet. That's just the truth. But not her. Not her. Not at all. And it is a thing that is worth acknowledging and being impressed by. If you want an example of a life well lived, even if you yourself are not royalty, I think Queen Elizabeth that's a pretty good measuring stick. Yep. So yeah. I tried to talk all the way to the end of the thing.
Yeah,
I really want to get to the bottom.
It's a lot of pictures. I'm going to go ahead and skip forward a bit because there's one final picture that I know Cameron wanted to talk about.
Yeah, because you just want to talk about like punching you in the gut, right? Almost there, almost there, almost there, almost there, almost there, almost there. No, not the one.
That's a good picture.
Yeah,
Great picture.
The best picture.
The best.
There, that's it. That's it. This right here. This is the Queen sitting alone at her husband's funeral. She and her husband were married for more than 70 years. That is just holy shit all by itself, right? She's at her husband's funeral, sitting alone, wearing a mask. I mean, who among us has that level of emotional control? Because that's depressing. But that was that woman, and I think she rightly deserves to be celebrated. And some of the nasty bite back stuff, and I don't mean the internet being the internet and making jokes that are inappropriate. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the wokes didn't even let her blood run cold before they had just the most awful takes.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to add?
Yes. Something interesting about the passing of a monarch. At least for the Brits, her funeral has been being planned for
like
60
1965,
years.
Yeah.
In what's called Operation London Bridge, and there are several pieces to Operation London Bridge. Which, I mean, it basically a military operation. There's Operation London Bridge, and then the subparts of it, Operation Springtide, Operation Unicorn, et cetera, et cetera. And it is a joint venture between most branches of the government. And I mean, they're going to shut down the British Stock Exchange and the banks for a week. That it does make sense because, you know, I mean, since the day she was coronated, it could have been any day. An accident, sickness, an assassination. Right. It could have happened at any given time. So it's not just some pomp and circumstance, frilly fluff that has him conducting that planning operation. But imagine,
you're talking about the continuity of a nation.
Right. Imagine your job for 60 years, whole careers went in and out of this planning.
Yes.
And that itself is noteworthy and interesting. I don't know what else to do with that information, but I think it's fascinating. It's one of those kind of trivia things to know about.
Alex says, and Alex was born in England, so I think his opinion counts a little extra. And he says, I'm not going to criticize anyone for what they say about the Queen's passing. I feel the way I feel because she was my queen and I was her subject. And I'm not saying anything that I'm saying, Alex, to be a simp in any way, though. I mean, I'm honestly sorry for your loss, brother. I watched you last night, and that was a pretty intense episode. But I'm saying what I am saying because I just believe it to be true that objectively you can point to Queen Elizabeth and you can say you could have made her queen of the entire world. I think she proved to have that level of decorum and understanding and like, I mean, again, like I would be Robert Baratheon if you made me king, whatever. I'm saying that the criticisms of her are ill-founded. She basically did the right thing more often than not, and she honestly wasn't obligated to if we use history as a judge.
Right.
Theoretically, the king and queen are supposed to do the right thing, but in practice, very rarely do they. So I think it's just worth noting, like, whenever the wokes go after somebody. In fact, you want to make me a fan of somebody, wokey wokes, go after them. Right? I might not know who or what a thing is, but then you go after it. Like, you know, one of the things that made Gina Carano so popular is you guys hated her so damn much. Like, I already thought she was fine AF, to be fair. But I liked her even more. So, all the right people hate you? Gosh.
Yeah, that does help.